Welcome to the podcast. We do recover with Jared Miller, your host.
And I'm Dr. Terry Sellers, your co-host.
This is a podcast about recovery from addiction.
We want to talk about what successful recovery can look like.
Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn.
Welcome to We Do Recover. I'm your host, Jared Miller. Today, I am not joined by your co-host, the medical expert, Dr. Terry Sellers. So we decided to do this on a Thursday, and I'm just going to jump right into Sean. Sean, why are we doing this on a Thursday?
I'm going out of town tomorrow. Sorry.
It's
I got my side hustle, man. I got some business to take care of. I got some bills to pay. So, when business pops up, I got to take it. Wait a second. Wait a second. I'm taking a side hustle vacation from the side hustle that I'm already doing.
You're doing a side hustle on top of a side hustle.
That's what I'm doing.
You see the kind of people I hang out with?
Like a side hustle.
Anyways, today in the studio, we have your producer, the tech titan, Sean Denovan.
I push buttons.
As well as we have my buddy, Randy Palmer. Randy works in the industry. He works for Rise Intervention. He also directs the outpatient portion of Matter in Tooele, a.k.a. our featured guest.
Thank you.
Randy Palmer, welcome.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, this podcast is recorded in sunny St. George, Utah. Episode 24, Part 1, is brought to you by Steps Recovery Centers, where addiction ends and healing begins. If you or a loved one needs help, please don't hesitate. Give them a call, even if you just have questions. 801-800-8142. They're amazing people. Here in Utah, all the way from the northern border to the southern border, they got you taken care of. All right, well, let's check in and do some new and goods. Randy Palmer, what's new and good in the world of Randy Palmer?
Man, that's a loaded question. It's what's new and good. I was thinking about this. I listened to your podcast on the way up here. I drove up from Tooele.
Thank you.
And I was thinking about this. What's new and good for me is this concept of if there's something that for a long time I wanted to do this. For a long time I had this dream, and I had so many people tell me, just forget about it, just do that. Even people that I love, that love me. So if there's anything that for me that's new and good is I've had a few of those aha moments the last few months.
Yeah.
That I've just been building towards for 10, 12 years where it just clicked. And I'm like, oh, so this is what it is.
Doesn't it feel good to work in your passion too? I mean, you're passionate about this thing, right?
Yeah.
And the naysayers, I love the naysayers. I love it because it's like the blind leading the blind. Like they're unhappy, and so they don't want you to be happy, and so they're giving you. And no offense to your loved ones that gave you that advice, but right, we all kind of create our own path. So that's awesome. So that's your new and good.
Yeah. I mean, that's my opening message right now. Like you say, it's somewhere down the road they decided not to go after theirs. So when somebody approaches them later, they say, "No, don't. Just go after the money or whatever it might be."
I love it, brother. Thank you. Sean Denovan, what's new and good in the world of Sean Denovan besides you're about to go do your hustle on top of your side hustle to make you some money? And, how selfish, right? This podcast isn't the number one thing in your whole world.
I'm
Sean?
down 22 pounds.
Oh, okay. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I want to talk about that. Jesus.
Switch gears.
Yeah. So that's new and good. I got on the scale by accident yesterday.
Okay. How does that happen?
Well, I was trying. Well, I'm packing for my trip.
Okay.
My bag can only be so heavy. So to measure the bag, I weigh myself. Then I weigh myself holding the bag. Do some math.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so I got on the scale and fully clothed with my shoes on and my jacket on, I was at a much lower weight than I would be, fresh out of the shower. I was like, oh, that's good.
That's awesome.
So did some math there. And anyway, that's my new and good.
Sean, you're making me jealous because longer than a year ago, I was like 300 and something pounds. I wish I had my driver's license in here to show you the picture. It looks like two of me combined into one. And I did what you're doing now, man. I got my stuff together. Well, anyways, fast forward this Christmas and holiday season, I've relapsed on sugar. And so now I'm in the process of getting back into my recovery from sugar and carbs. So you're looking good though, man.
Thank you.
Right on. All right. Well, Randy Palmer, thank you for being here, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited about it.
Good. I can't wait to get to you. All right. Well, let's start off like we always do. Who is Randy Palmer, right? Like we know that you work in recovery, and we're going to get to that in part 2, like your life in recovery today. What I want to know is who is Randy Palmer? Husband, father, recovering addict. Go.
Yeah, well, I am a husband. I'm married to my wife's name is Brittany. We've been married for 11 years.
Shout out to Brittany.
Yeah, she's incredible, which is a new record for me. 11 years. Before her, my record was 90 days or something.
Being married?
No, my longest relationship.
Oh, longest relationship. Okay.
So yeah, we've been married for almost 11 years. We have 5 kids, and
wow,
man, you want to talk about a rush? It's
5 kids.
It's a rush, and then our oldest is 9, so I have 3 boys and 2 girls.
So hold on, Randy. They almost double you guys, right? So like, here's when I talk to Mandy, I'm like, babe, because she wants like 4 kids, and I'm like, look. When you have 2, there's 1 per 1. You get what I'm saying? It's an even ratio.
Yeah.
You guys are knocking at the door of 2 per 1.
Yeah.
Or no, almost 3 per 1. Sorry, I can't do math apparently.
Well, she wants 1 more. So I mean, sometimes we go back and forth. But
you might just hit that ratio. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead with your kids.
No, it's fun. I mean, it is life, man. It's life. Yeah. I can't think of anything else that I could ever do that would mean as much as just being home.
That's proof that we do recover, brother. That is proof that we do recover. Okay, so that's the man, that's the father. Are you an addict in recovery?
I am in recovery. Yeah, I struggled with addiction. It's been a while. It's been 15 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah, there's been a few relapses along the road. I didn't dwell on it. I just went back to life,
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. All right, so let's dive into your story. Looking back, as you kind of look at your life in a previous perspective, what was the lightning before the thunder, right? Or what was the trauma before the addiction manifested? Let's get that.
Yeah, it was I think the underlying issue there would be a lack of confidence.
Lack of confidence.
Lack of confidence, which eventually led into social anxiety.
Right.
I mean, I remember, and it kind of developed, when you're young, like you were saying the other day in one of your podcasts, we just do stuff. We color, we put capes, we run around, we do things. When you're young, I went through that too, where you're just a kid. And then all of a sudden you start getting a little bit older into your teenage years. And you start to process some of those raw emotions of developing your identity, right?
Yeah.
And it just seemed for me, everything I did, I just felt insecure about it. I just didn't have the confidence.
Can you identify a person that was the nice cape dude for you? And listen, I just want to say, like, that's one thing that I try to get away from. I'm not afraid to be a dork today. Like, if somebody's going to judge me, I realize that's their broken mirror that they're trying to project onto me, right? And so I'm not afraid to be a dork. Yeah. In our little pre-shoot, I called myself the recovery kid or the comeback kid or whatever. I think we should all come up with names. Like, Sean's should be the tech titan. Sellers should be, a.k.a. the doctor. What would your superhero name be?
Probably like the lazy eye lieutenant or something.
I love it,
because I had an eye injury when I was 2 years old. I fell into our basement onto the concrete and destroyed all the muscles in my eye. So I've had this lazy eye my entire life. And
I think it's cool because it's unique, man.
Yeah, it's better now. I had a bunch of surgeries and they finally got it straightened out. I mean, it's not perfect.
Yeah, no.
That would be a cool name, though.
I love it. I love it. All right, so can you identify who that was for you?
Not one situation. Like, I can't think of one situation where somebody kind of said something that changed it. It was more of a gradual process where I just went from this overly confident little kid with a ton of energy, bouncing off the walls all over the place, to kind of just shriveling up in this little shell, wondering where I fit in. For example, I love basketball. It's even today, once I get into the gym with my kids, I can't leave. It's always one more shot, right?
That might be the sign of addiction, too.
And my kid knows, like, yeah, right. He says 15 more rebounds, but he really means it's like another 30 minutes, right?
Right.
But I remember being little, and even just as I got older, my freshman year in high school, playing basketball, and I was quick. I stole the ball, going for a fast break, dribbled it off my knee, out of bounds, and I could hear my mom scream, and I could never recover. And it's a problem, right? Sports psychology is a huge industry.
Yeah.
I never recovered from that. It's something even to this day I still battle, just going in there and just playing. having fun.
Now, why is it your mom was screaming? 'Cause she was cheering for you?
Because she's a mom. She was, she's my biggest fan. So she was just in the crowd. But I heard, it was one of those things
Made you
where,
nervous.
yeah, I just, that I never connected that link to, just go out there, go entertain people. That's why they're there.
Yeah.
Everybody makes mistakes. It's just go out there and entertain people. That's really what sports is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, cool. So lack of confidence was kind of some of the traumas at an early age. Was there anything that happened that was really right up until the substance abuse identified itself?
Yeah, social anxiety really crept in. I mean, it got to a point where I would not, I wouldn't go to English class because we were reading a play. I was terrified to read or speak in front of people. That's eventually what led me away from my church activities and everything else. I avoided it. And it got to the point where I couldn't order food at a restaurant with my family.
Wow, that bad.
I'd sit in my truck and wait for people to leave the gas station so I could go in and get a drink.
Who is this guy sitting across from me doing a podcast that we stream the video live on Facebook, man? You're a different cat today.
I transformed, man. God transformed me. You know what I mean? You change, things change. But that was it for me. It was a couple really bad experiences with social anxiety disorder, or just social anxiety in general, stemming from a lack of confidence. And that led up until I got my wisdom teeth out and I took a Loratab.
That sounds like the addiction or substance abuse disorder. That's what we're calling it technically in the industry these days. Sounds like that's when it started to manifest itself.
Yeah, well, to me, that's when I healed all my problems.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about that. What did that look like?
Well, the 16-year-old kid that can't function, when you take I took something and it seemed like it was all better. I suddenly had confidence. I could go speak and read and do things in front of people, and it was like I was fixed. And I connected that in my brain, like, oh, this must be it. This must be what I needed.
There's so many people that have come on this podcast and have shared that, right? That I think it was Tony Poole that said the drugs are the answer and that's the problem, right? Like, and I'm not trying to glorify it at all because I'm totally against that, but I'm saying like there's a reason why people, get addicted to these things, whether it's, trauma from childhood, whether it's social anxiety, right? Like, and it for a time, and that's what I want to point out, for a brief time, it seems to be a Band-Aid. Would you agree?
Yeah. Eventually, I had a drug addiction and anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, worse. The chemicals only compounded the anxiety.
Isn't it interesting that it's almost like taking out a loan, right? Like, I think I look back on my addiction. I've done some work around this, and it's like I went through some trauma with people in my family. My dad passed away, brother passed away, wife asked me for a divorce. And at the time, I was doing the same thing. I was self-medicating to try to get away from that. But when I think about it, nowadays, it's like you take out a loan, right, for temporary relief that you end up paying back double in the end. Like you're saying, eventually your anxiety was worse.
Yeah.
It's crazy, dude.
And there is no bankruptcy paperwork.
Right?
I mean, I guess we could dive into that to, some of the stuff John talked about with suicidal thoughts and things, but there is no, it has to be paid eventually. You have to do that work. You have to figure it out.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So got the wisdom teeth out. Your brain goes, this helps. How long did that last for? At 16, you said, right?
Yeah, I experiment. I mean, I just kept, that became my new, before I got into opiates, my goal in life, the midbrain, my drive was to stay comfortable, was to avoid people, places, and things that would cause me to feel uncomfortable. After that, the goal became finding drugs, finding pills, getting high. So I pursued that course from 16 to around 23 years old. That was my daily focus, and everything that I worked on was just trying to fill that, find that first initial feeling that you find, right? That first hit. Yeah. That you never can. So it was.
What did your family dynamic look like at the time? You come from a 2-parent background, siblings. Where were you kind of raised? Where were you living around this time?
Yeah, that's a great question. My family was right there. They were all clean. Parents were married. My dad owned his own construction company. I was the youngest of 2 brothers and 2 sisters. They were all concerned about me. For the first few years, they had no idea. They didn't know. You know, you hide it. And
Oh yeah.
you go about your business and you do your thing. They knew I had anxiety and I was insecure in a lot of areas, but so they were all there. They weren't sure really what to do. They would sometimes approach me. They weren't sure what to do about it. And I would say at the time my parents didn't have the greatest relationship, so it's not like they had a bunch of spare time to come and work on my emotional challenges. They were just surviving. You know, they had 5 kids of their own.
Yeah, 2 big things there. Number one, you don't know what you don't know, right? If you don't understand this thing, and it's funny, like I go through phases in my recovery, and it's like I went through a phase where, you know, I'm gonna tell the world it's not a moral, you know, it's not a moral defect, it's a disease, and I'm gonna shout it from the rooftop, right? And I'm gonna fix society's outlook on this. And I realized, man, that's just my insecurity. And I'm glad people don't know in a way, because then they haven't, trust me, they have their own stuff they're going through, because we all do, bro. We all do. But I'm glad that they had a different outlook, right? Because that means that they haven't been through this thing.
Right.
But so, yeah, you don't know what you don't know. And then the second thing, look, I think parents a lot of times are just trying to do their best, right? Just trying to do their best.
Yeah. Just getting by one day at a time, doing what they can to, it's a deep, of course, now looking back, for me, I'm not sure about you, but for me, it was a gift.
Oh, for sure.
It was a huge gift to my family. We're closer now and tighter now, and we can communicate now more openly and clearly than we ever could have before. You know, so now they know, and I think that now it's been a gift for us as other challenges arise that we can.
Why do you think that is?
Man, I think it's because it pulls out, like it goes beyond like the surface level of living.
Okay.
Right. We live at this surface level of schedules and tasks and communicating and
checklists,
conversations, and this goes to a deeper place where you have to slow down and you really have to listen. And you really have to prioritize your time, and you have to just narrow in on what's going on here, and really spend the time. You can't pay for it, you can't avoid it. You have to spend the time.
And isn't that a message for families that are struggling with a loved one who's going through addiction? Right. I think a lot of times we get caught up in the hustle and bustle of life, and really, when somebody goes through this, it makes you kind of slow down and go, first of all, what's really important? And second of all, once you identify that connection is really important and staying involved in that family member's life, right, then sometimes you reprioritize some things.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not that I'm coming at you saying that, you know, if you're a father out there and you're a business owner and your 20-year-old son's living in your basement, he's addicted to heroin, that you're doing anything majorly wrong.
Right.
It's more that it's an opportunity for you to really question your priorities. I mean, I've worked with families where, hey, this is what the family thinks we should do to help young Billy get cleaned up. But Dad's concerned if we do that the business might go under.
Yeah.
And he's right, it might. Or he might just be avoiding some of his own growth and potential with his business that he's never confronted before.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Okay. So let's get back to your story. So you're going through it. You said at 23 is kind of when you started coming out of the woods, or what happened at 23, man? Let's jump there.
So I like to say that I think I started to grow out of addiction.
Oh, different take. Okay.
I really do.
Tell me more.
I started to observe other people in the community and other people that I knew, and I had discernment to where I could see that they were, some had more joy, and others seemed like they were just kind of stumbling through life. One of the things I always wanted to be married. I always wanted a little boy that I could wrestle with, because I had a nephew.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just wrestle with a little kid, and I wanted to have a little boy. And I knew that the way I was living, I was in no position at that time to be responsible as a father, the father I wanted to be. So I just started to look, and
so real quick, you identified your goals didn't match, right? Like your your habits and your
Sure.
mindset and the patterns, like those weren't connecting.
Yeah.
That's pretty deep, dude. Like not a lot of people can do that.
And I guess that's why I say I started to grow out of it, because I just was sitting in my comfort zone, right? I imagined I had this bubble around me called my comfort zone. And I had my Mountain Dew and my Tootsie Rolls and MTV, and I just started to see it, that the missing link there was me.
Yeah.
Was my daily behavior. So I started to kind of build that thought pattern to where I said, okay, well, then I need to do something different, because that's where I want to go.
There's a cheesy little saying, if I always do what I've always done, I'll always be where I've always been. And it kind of sounds like that's the conclusion that you came to, right? If I keep doing this, I'm not gonna be able to have the lifestyle of the people I'm looking around going, this is what I want.
Right.
Safe to say?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So what happened from there?
Well, that started the battle. The addiction battle in my mind was, I want to get clean. I know that I want to be married. I want a little boy. So how do I do that? Well, I'll try weaning myself off. So I tried that for a few weeks. Of course, that didn't work. I'll tell all my friends, hey, don't sell to me anymore. Or I'll tell the doctor, hey, I don't really have pain. Don't give it to me anymore. And then I would go back a month later and say, okay, it really hurts. Give it to me again. And he would.
Right.
So, it started this battle of, man, like I really would like to be clean, but I can't.
Yeah.
I don't believe I can do it because I've tried it.
Yeah.
So I'll just use again because I'm just tired.
Right.
Right. And I stayed in that bubble for some time.
What got you out of that bubble?
It's the strangest thing, but there was a commercial. I remember seeing a commercial, and there was this guy sitting against this wall, and there's a rainbow, and he said he'd been clean for like 7 years, and or it was like 7 months, and it just a seed, man. Something happened, something planted in my heart, and it's like, that guy's been clean for 7 months. Maybe I could be clean for 7 months.
Brother, that's why I do what I do today. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So where did it go from there?
Well, then my growing out of addiction evolved to this mindset of, wow, I got to shut up.
Okay.
I have to listen to somebody else. I have to listen to that guy.
Yeah.
And I got to be like a little kid. I got to be like a little 2-year-old or 3-year-old little boy, like my nephew. And if somebody says, go get the ball, I got to go get the ball. Yep. And I just took that mindset, like, okay, that's it. And it just snapped in my mind, and I walked up to my parents' house. I said, I got to go to rehab. I said, I've been trying to quit. I can't quit. Oh, well, no, you don't understand. I got to go to rehab.
Yeah.
They weren't sure what to do. I left. I walked to my bishop's house, a church leader's house. I said, I got to go to rehab. My parents don't understand. I got to be like a little kid. I got to go somewhere where people know what the hell is going on so that I can listen to them, because I can't listen to myself anymore. I don't understand it. And my dad helped me, and we checked into Matter Behavioral Health 2 days later. And that was, and they began the foundation of reprogramming my brain and my thoughts and my beliefs. And
so that's where the starting point, which we're going to get to in part 2 of your road to recovery, was through Matter Behavioral Health. Where was that at? Mount
Pleasant, Utah.
Okay.
And that was in 2005.
Cool. Way cool.
Yeah.
Man, this has been this episode 1 or part 1 has gone by so fast, Randy. Yeah. It's gone by, buddy. I'm excited to get into part 2.
Let's do it. It's the first podcast that's had a timer on it, so I feel like I'm moving up in the world.
Oh man. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing with us. I love that we touched on the family aspect, the family dynamic of it. Join us in part 2. We're going to dive more into Randy Palmer's story. We're going to get into his life in recovery today. We'll see you after this 30-second break from our sponsor.
You are listening to We Do Recover with Jared Miller and co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. We'll be right back after this short break with more of We Do Recover with Jared Miller, sponsored by Steps Recovery Center and the Hilton Garden Inn.
I'm Desmond Lomax. I'm one of the clinical executives here at Steps Recovery, and once you become the Steps family, you're just a part of the Steps family. A lot of us have overcome substances, overcome addiction, and now we're able to help other people. Second of all, we're also going to help you in a way where you can afford to be helped. Third of all, we're going to give you the same quality that many organizations are charging 2 to 3 times. And it's more about you than it is about our organization.
We welcome you back to We Do Recover with Jared Miller, co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. And now with part 2 of our podcast, Jared Miller and Dr. Terry Sellers.
And we're back. Part 2. Episode 24, We Do Recover. I got my buddy Randy Palmer here. In part 1, he shared his kind of the traumas, the things he went through, the things he struggled with before addiction, the things he struggled with his substance abuse disorder. He shared with us that he basically ended up at Matter Recovery, where he wanted to be around people he could learn from. Excited to jump back into it real quick, though. We want to give a shout out to our sponsor. Episode 24, part 2 is brought to you by the Hilton Garden Inn in St. George, Utah. It's always sunny and bright at the Hilton Garden Inn in St. George, Utah. If you're traveling through southern Utah, give them a Google search. Just type in Hilton Garden Inn St. George, Utah. They have amazing amenities. I mean, how was your stay last night?
It was great. Yeah, it was perfect.
So nice, huh?
Yeah, we liked it.
Maybe I'll come over after this and we'll sit in that hot tub. I was jealous this morning.
Come over tonight when it's cooler. Yeah.
Right on, buddy. Right on. All right. So we've gotten to the point now where you basically want to be around people you can learn from, right? You've realized, I don't know how to do this thing. I need help. And you got some help. Tell us what Matter Recovery did for you. And a big thing that I like to touch on is, at what point did you have what we call in recovery a spiritual awakening?
Yeah. Well, I have to set the stage a little bit, because when I got to Matter, my entire life I've been envious of where I was. You know, you get clean and you look back, and then you see people that are in early recovery, and you get kind of jealous of their humility and of their openness to life, right? As I've got, the cleaner I've got, it seems like the more prideful I've got again. You know, and it's been a journey of mine. I remember walking into Matter.
Guilty.
Yeah.
I can totally relate,
Can
brother.
you feel that?
Yeah.
So I remember walking into Matter. Of course, when you first get there, you're high and whatever else. But I remember waking up a day or two, and I just had this fighter mentality. I looked at it like a fight for my life, and I knew that I couldn't listen to myself, so I was going to do everything and anything that somebody else there who was clean told me to do. And I just remember having this attitude where my body reacted and released chemicals and helped me just push right through the withdrawals. And I'd been there for like 4 days, and this kid that had been there 90 days pulled me aside. He's like, "Where are you hiding it?" Like, "Where am I hiding what?" He's like, "You're hiding pills." He's like, "Nobody walks in here like you walked in here." I'm like, "Dude, you don't understand. Like this, it was attitude. I'm just here to change."
Yeah.
And I really was. I was 23 years old. I had that. I had been growing, like I said, felt like I'd been growing out of my old lifestyle for some time. I was tired of it. And I knew now what I needed to do, so I saw it as my opportunity. I saw it as my break. So as I feel like it's important I tell that, because I had done things to put myself in a situation where I felt like God could give me a gift. And he did. I'd been in Matter it was my 3rd night there, and it was like 2 a.m, and I went into the bathroom and I just threw up. And I was walking down this long, dark hallway, and I felt this darkness, just this stirring of this darkness is the best way I can describe it. So I went back to my bed, and I was laying there, and the darkness just got darker and more powerful, and I just got more scared and just more negative. I couldn't find those positive thoughts.
Yeah. You're consumed by this dark feeling that overcame you.
Yeah, I just had these feelings like, you're never going to do this. You know, who do you think you are? You can't do this. Nobody ever does this. You might as well just give up. And I was laying there, and I remember I had this, you remember the old Walkmans? I had a CD player with some headphones. And I had some church music in there, and I went back to some of my roots when I was younger. I had some great experiences when I was a little kid with church and activities. And I put those headphones on, and I actually had some scriptures there next to my bed, and I put them on my chest, and I just bear hugged them.
Nice.
And I in my mind, I imagined that I was in the bathroom and I was in the corner and I was being kicked and I was being jumped by these guys.
By this darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I noticed that I was still breathing. And then that's when it kind of clicked to me, okay, if I'm still breathing, then I still have a fighter's chance. So I started to kind of walk up the wall, and I got up to my feet, and I was covering up, and I realized that I could fight. And I was basically, in my mind, I was given a choice. Do you want to fight or do you want to quit? And once I made the choice to fight, it was like instantly that darkness just vanished, and I just got this warm. Anybody who's gone through something like this, you can't explain it. There's no words to describe what happened other than I knew that God was real. I knew that he loved me. I knew he had my back. I knew he was proud of me. I knew he'd been watching me. I knew he led me to where I was right then. My entire body was filled with light and joy. I could comprehend things I'd never comprehended before. It changed everything for me. I saw in my mind some of my future, and it's something that to this day, if somebody asks, why do you do what you do? Why do you live the way you do? Why do you go to church? Why does any of this matter to you? I'd say, oh, because in 2005, my third day in rehab, I had this experience. It changed, my entire life changed in what felt like hours and hours of this euphoria, but it was probably only 45 seconds. I don't know. Yeah.
Dude, not too many people are willing to even come on to a podcast and talk about this thing, and definitely not too many of them are willing to come on and talk about something like that. And I totally understand what you mean when you say, like, people might not understand this and maybe they'll judge me and think I'm crazy. Because I say that because if you're familiar with my story, in 2014 I had an attempt, and I was dead for a while until they hit me with Narcan. And I went through something very similar that I've only shared with. I mean, if I had fingers cut off, I could still show you on one hand the people I've shared this experience with. But it was very similar to that, man. When you were talking, I was getting the chills.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what I love about addiction. That's why it's a gift. That's why I really feel like when it's all said and done, we're going to look back and we're going to see that it was an experience that was given in preparations for future experiences.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree.
It was a uniting effort for families and communities and societies, opportunities to grow.
Yeah. I love that. Man, what a powerful spiritual awakening. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So that began your road to recovery. At what point did you start to kind of say, okay, I got this. I'm good. Like, tell me a little bit about that. Even maybe after when you left treatment, right? Was there a moment in time where you felt like, when you're a kid, right? And like you're learning how to ride a bike, and all of a sudden you realize like dad or mom's not holding onto the seat anymore. I'm doing this thing. Was there a moment like that for you?
Yeah, there was. So if you remember, I felt like the main concern that I had when I was younger was the lack of confidence, anxiety.
Yeah.
I didn't understand my role on earth and the connection with my creator. So when I was in Matter, one of the ladies there, she's so sweet. Her name's Linda. She knew about my struggles, and she invited me and pushed me to read and to do things in the groups to get me to confront what I'd been avoiding for a long time. And I struggled even after I graduated 90 days. I struggled, and I was looking at my life and thinking, okay, I need something to focus on. I need a target. I need something I can put my energy towards, or I'm just wandering aimlessly.
I've said it 100 times. The best defense is a good offense.
Yeah.
You got to have something that you're pushing towards. Okay.
Right.
Sorry.
So no, you're good. So I put my mind on a mission to go to serve a mission for the church.
LDS Church.
Yeah,
we got
LDS
people
church.
from other states that don't. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so and that was my target, and it was it's something I worked on, and it was a struggle, and even to this day, I'm not sure how it happened. Somehow,
higher power, man.
Yeah, somehow the bishop at the time was just like, get this kid on a plane. He was inspired. He just knew if I could get him on a plane. So I would say that moment for me came when I was actually I was giving a talk in church in Arkansas, and I got up there and I just opened my mouth, and everything that I'd been holding in for years just started to spew out. And they gave me a card and told me I needed to sit down. I took all the time. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't concerned. I just was being me, just being free and able to free. And I would say that's the first time it kind of clicked for me. Like, okay, to me, being sober and recovering is expressing yourself, is being yourself confidently. And that's
despite
that's the first
what
time
other
it kinda
people
clicked.
will think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? Because that was the social anxiety. You were worried, what are other people going to think of me?
Yeah.
Even before the substance abuse started. So I love, that's beautiful, man. You came out of this thing, and it seems like not only were you able to, get clean, but you were able to find that confidence.
Yeah.
And that kind of, look, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it. There's so many people in the world. I'll resonate with somebody. Somebody's going to like this, right?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So where did it go from there? You find the self-confidence on your mission.
Yeah, I would say that's where it solidified my recovery. 2 years of just helping people and serving people, and just putting yourself and your own needs kind of on the back burner. And when I got home, my wife and we'd been riding for a while, so I was able to get married fast, and then I had my little boy, and the rest is history. I had that little boy.
Hold on, I just want to point this out. You were writing with pen and paper back then, right?
Yeah.
Most people don't do that these days. It's all
Yeah.
this. And there's something magical about that, right?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right on. So married, right? How long until you had your first son?
So we were married. We were married almost a year, 11 months, 12 months. So it was fast. Yeah. And then from that point, something kind of kicks in too when you, after I saw my son, something kind of started to kick in. And I'd always, since I had been to rehab, I'd always wanted to do something in the addiction recovery field. And that's when it kind of started for me. But once my son...
What were you doing before you worked in the field of substance abuse?
So I was in, my dad owned a gravel pit. We were in trucking.
That's right. He owned a construction company.
Yeah. So and then once my son was born, I immediately defaulted to that. I moved to North Dakota, and I bought a semi-truck, and I hauled oil into Canada for a few years.
Got to have money.
Right. And that fatherly instinct kind of took over. But every day I'd be driving in that truck, and I'm like, man, this isn't it.
Our stories have so many similarities.
There's got to be something else. Yeah. So I started listening to podcasts and wanted to become a life coach. And, man, that started, I would say finding my path to working in addiction was harder for me than getting clean.
Was it?
Yeah, it was an emotional and a very social. Like, I started making videos and putting them on the internet. I haven't made videos about my personal struggles with pornography and put them on the internet.
You were vulnerable, though.
Yeah, again, that surface level has never been enough for me. Like, I needed to go deeper. I needed to be more real and be like, hey, when I was in rehab, I learned these techniques and I've been using them, and it's helped me in every aspect.
Yeah.
And I just started to just put myself out there and try different coaching programs and different stuff. And I've always wanted to work with Matter ever since I went there, and that's finally happened. I run a family group with them. And then I was eventually all of that struggle and that emotional challenge led me to, the Arise Network to do interventions. I always thought that'd be so cool. I always saw myself like in a suit with a briefcase, getting on an airplane, like CIA. You're traveling to New York, and you're just going to go meet with this guy, and you're going to go in there, and
it's all kind of on the down low, right?
Yeah.
Because the anonymity. I get you, man.
And there was also this other driving portion of it that I think it's going to be cool. I believe that there's life after death, and I think it's going to be cool when I come across people I worked with to embrace them and be like, yeah, we confronted it. Yeah, we hit head on the challenges that we struggled with.
There was a moment that changed in my life, and I've shared this before. I'm going to share it again. I had a couple years putting this thing together, my road to recovery. But I was still very mentally broken. I was sober sick. Okay, I was sober, but I was still pretty sick. And I went to a bishop, and I was like, Bishop, man, I've lost my in the pity pool, right? I'm like, my dad's passed away, my brother's passed away. My wife asked me for a divorce for good reason, right? Like, I was a very selfish person in addiction. I don't blame her at all. I've lost everything, man. Why? Like, I thought God loved me. I thought God was merciful. What have I done to be in the absence of his presence? And he said something that was crazy. It blew my mind. He said, Jared, when you get to the other side, maybe God will say to you, congratulations, you overcame that obstacle.
Yeah.
But how many people did you bring with you? How many people had that same struggle? Did you go back and grab their hand and say, come on? Look, I love metaphors, right? So I'm going to do this. I think of like addiction as like the subway of life, okay? Like we're all down there in the subway of life, and we're just trying to take it one day at a time. There's not a lot of light. The air's sticky and smoggy and gross, right? We can smell the sewage. And at some point, we realize there's the exit, but there's a long stairway to get out of this thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And look, guys, hopefully like us, not only can we get out and go to the top and get a breath of fresh air and go, we made it, but then it's like that bishop said to me, how many people did you bring along with you? So that's why I do this. I'm hollering down, guys, life's sweeter up here, right?
Yeah.
Come on, let me help you. Let me guide you. Let me show you the way. I'm trying to make recovery cool because in the movies, they glorify substance abuse and make it seem like it's cool, right? And I'm like, that isn't cool, right? Going dirt bike riding's cool.
Yeah.
Raising a family's cool. Going boating's cool. Like, this is real life.
Yeah.
This isn't the movies, man.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Sorry,
Yeah.
I kind of went off on a spiel.
And
there
it's
for a sec,
sustainable. It's sustainable.
but I get it. That was powerful for me. And I have the same belief, dude. It's going to be cool to get to the other side and humbly go be able to look around and go, man, I had some kind of impact on this world
Yeah.
that other than financially, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's going to be a beautiful day.
And going back to when you said what's new and good with Randy Palmer, that's basically it. Anybody who tells you just go for the industry, just go for the stamp and the plates or whatever it is, and don't worry about it. Collect a paycheck. I understand that. A man should work.
Right.
I would never turn down work to chase my passion. I would work as I'm chasing my passion. But there is something there, and it's real.
When those two worlds collide, it's like that is serenity.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you can make a paycheck doing something that you love to do, that you would do
Yeah.
anyways. I know it's corny, I know it's cheesy, it's hallmarky, but I'm going to say it. If I was a billionaire, I would still do what I do today.
Yeah.
Like, in the fact that I get paid to do it, that's great. And I still want to continue to get paid because I got bills just like everybody else, right?
Right.
But like, it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be, substance abuse. I tell people all the time, not a lot of people know this, but I go around and I do speaking engagements and I tell people, like, find your passion, whatever it is for you,
Yeah.
right? God gave me this gift, and so this is mine, but whatever that is for you. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry, we kind of got off track. So as far as what does Randy Palmer do today when he's not working at Arise or at Matter? Like, what is it? You got the weekend or you got some time off. What is it that you do today? What's your life in recovery?
Yeah, I'd like to say I just sit home and hold the kids and
You got 5 kids, so
Yeah.
you got a plan for that, right?
I do, but I like to move. I have a hard time just sitting there. I'm go visit my dad. I'm really into older Ford trucks. I like the bump side Fords. It's kind of a unique niche passion of mine. I really like to work on those. Like, we passed one driving here. I don't know if you saw my neck. I turned around.
You broke your neck on me?
Yeah, I like those. I like playing basketball, and then it's just there's really no other time. It's just family. I really feel like that core for me, though, that thing that thing for me, other than my family, is working with other families and doing the intervention process. It's something that keeps me up at night. It drives me, and I think it is the missing link when it comes to recovery for a lot of families.
What you're talking about, we're big on, right? Three domains. I believe in 4, but what you're talking about is, so we have the bio, psycho, and social. You're talking about the social aspect of it, dealing with families, right? And then I'm just going to throw out there, I believe in the spiritual, which I'm pretty sure you do too, right? Mm-hmm. You're talking about the social aspect of it, working with families. What does that look like for you? What does that do for you?
Yeah, well, it again, it's going back to, you asked earlier, what was the dynamic in my own family?
Yeah.
So, you brought up earlier rock bottom, and how I have a different approach to rock bottom. And I don't like the term. To me, it seems passive. It seems victimized. Like there's nothing. There's this common belief that people say that there's nothing you can do until they hit rock bottom, and to me, that's formed from a weary heart. I've tried so many times. I can't emotionally handle getting hurt anymore, so I'm just going to believe that there's nothing I can do until they hit rock bottom. I'm going to sit back and watch. And in the Arise model, the way it works, it's there's strength in numbers. It's an intervention, but it's not like the TV show. There's different models.
Imagine that. Real life's not like the TV show?
So the TV show intervention, that's called the Johnson model. And it's completely different. You lie to them, you go in, you surprise them. It's a one-time deal. You're going to rehab.
Okay.
With the Arise model, it's a minimum of 6 months contract that I work with a family. And I'll go into their home and we'll invite everyone, including the addicted loved one. We'll say, hey, you're invited to come to a meeting next Tuesday, and we're just going to have a general discussion about the health of our family. And we go in there, and I set a goal with everyone in the family, because it's the family's addiction.
Right.
It's not just Billy Bob's addiction.
That's so true.
Right. And it's just something that when you unite, when you shift the family perspective and you put the focus on the family's strengths, because, there may be an addiction in that family, and there may be struggles in that family, but there's overriding and more powerful strengths and skills that family possesses that are stronger than any addiction, any natural disaster, anything that will ever happen. That those traits have been passed down for hundreds of years, and that family still possesses those traits.
Yeah.
And now there's an addiction there, but if we can tap into those traits, and if we can get the family consistently meeting with a united message of hope and recovery, while strategically applying some boundaries with and increasing resources at the same time, patiently over time. What I love about the Arise Network and the model is I don't have to be the expert. I don't go in there as a guy with 14 degrees saying, this is what you should do, now do it.
Right.
Because if I do that, then I'm responsible for the results.
Yeah.
The family chooses what they want to do. It's a family council. It's Family Council Recovery, COUNCIL. So it's a council where the family discusses what they want. Yeah, and they set the goals. They move the direction of the family.
And if that person chooses to go into treatment, guess where he's going once he comes out of treatment?
Right back to the
to the family. So if they have the united front, they're all on the same page, right? Like you're taking them, putting them somewhere safe. Everybody's getting better, and then they're returning somewhere that hopefully is a little safer, a little better, right?
Yeah.
Versus if we just say, look, it's you. What was the name you used? Billy Bob? Or if it's just you, Billy Bob, you're the problem. You got to get better. Go, right? Well, maybe Billy Bob does go and get better, and he comes back, and it's not a healthy environment.
Right.
And so he's going to go, what do you think he's going to do?
Right.
Yeah. I love that, man. I love that. So we got about 2 minutes left here. Oh, this has been fun, man. This has been awesome.
Like it.
So last question for you. What does We Do Recover mean to you? So if somebody said, tell us what that means in your world or in your words, what would it be?
Yeah, for me, I think of the families that I've worked with, and We Do Recover, first of all, it would start with, I like it, we.
Yes.
We do recover. It starts with the basis of what does success look like? Because when I go in with the family, they say, can you get my son clean? No, I can't. But let's talk about what success looks like. Could I help you find 100% peace with the outcome of life, regardless of what happens with your son?
Ooh, powerful.
Because if we can do that, if we can set a basis for what success looks like in your family, what that standard is, and then if we can work on that, it's no longer about somebody else's choices.
Yeah.
It's about your choices. And if you can own that, if everybody in that unit can own that, that family recovers. It changes that family forever. That's a different scenario. Even if there's still drug use with Billy Bob, because the family understands what success looks like independently for them and what their role is in that process.
Yeah.
And they have the strength and the support of the rest of the family. The family becomes a support network. It's an incredible model. It's inspired by God, and it's something that I'm just lucky to be a small part of it.
Man, and we were lucky to have you on Randy Palmer, this guy is awesome. Thank you so much for coming
you.
on, man. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. Be sure to tell your wife we appreciate it. And have fun in St. George this weekend.
Okay.
Thank you guys for listening. You can find us on
Thank
Facebook.
you for joining us today
all major
on
podcast
We
platforms.
Do Recover with Jared Miller.
Help us spread our message of hope. Like, comment, and share.
If you have any topics or ideas for future shows, please share that on our Facebook page.
That Facebook page is We Do Recover with Jared Miller. If you or a loved one needs help, please reach out to us. Again, thank you for listening.
Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. This has been a production from a podcast studio.